Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today, we have one I'm pretty excited about. This is the Benchmade Presidio II CF Elite. CF Elite indicating there has been a scale change. I owned the original Presidio II with the aluminum scales. I really liked a lot about it, but it was a bit heavy, and I don't remember the exact price, but as I recall, it was also a fairly expensive knife, and I let it go because just having a big, heavy knife around like that for that much money wasn't something I wanted to keep around. I am more into knives this size now than I was back then, and this is lighter and significantly cheaper. $131.75. S30V blade, the exact same blade that was on the original. These really cool CF scales, which I'll show you in a minute. Not bad at all. I will say I don't think this one really has a butterfly tax on it. Sometimes Benchmade has knives that are a bit overpriced. I don't think this one is. Lately, they've had a few that I think were priced about right, so good on them. I also want to thank Zach Stuff for getting this to me. I very much appreciate it. And he sent me a bunch of stickers that will go on to you guys. He does a lot. He lives right down the street from Benchmade, so he gets them fast. So that's kind of, he's my Benchmade guy. So when you see Benchmade's on here 9 times out of 10, they came some way through Zach. So I do very much appreciate that. There is a mini version coming out. That is not out yet. I'm not going to call this a first impressions review because I have only had it for a day, but like I said, I had the original one. And other than the scales, they're fairly similar. The blade and stuff is all fairly similar. But when the mini comes out, I will do another review with both of them side by side. The mini is a 3.2-inch blade, where this is 3 3/4. So we'll get to that as we go into specs and size comparisons. But as far as the overall look of this, I think a lot of people are turned off by the CF Elite, just thinking that it's still fancy plastic, which yes, it is still primarily, polymer plastic, but it's got some carbon fiber in there. It's a lot nicer. It's extremely fancy plastic, I guess is the best way to describe it, which you can see. I hope the camera does it justice. Like, this doesn't look cheap. It does look kind of carbon fibery, even more so than it does on the bug out CF Elite. I'll just bring that out really quick. You'll see that in some size comparison stuff too. But I have, the CF Elite bug out. The CF Elite bug out, it just looks kind of, it's got some sparkle to it or something. And it still looks cool. I still like that. This is still definitely my favorite version of the bug out. But this just looks even better. I just really like it. I'm quite fond of the looks. I was never really that blown away by the aluminum, and this just looks really cool and plenty of traction without being ridiculous getting out of your pocket. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself in the review, but yeah, I really like the look of it. I like the finish on this blade. This is the stone wash. It does come in a black DLC for a few bucks more, or you can also get a partially serrated if you want to. And this is part of the black class. You see the 570-1, as it will be known to some people. Yeah, it's part of the black class, meaning it's meant for tactical, first responder, that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of them will want the partially serrated, but I don't. I like it better, which is the plain edge. Pretty darn cool knife, I do have to say. Looks and stuff wise, I really like it. The look of this CF Elite, I didn't know how it was going to look either. And then when I got it out, I was like, that stuff actually looks pretty cool. It looks almost like thermoplastic. If you guys, that was a huge craze in the mountain bike world in like the late 90s. Everything was thermoplastic. And that's what this looks like to me. It almost looks like thermoplastic, which to me, that means money, even though this is a pretty reasonably priced knife, because I've had that beaten into my head. We paid so much for thermoplastic stuff back in those days. Anyway, let's get going with some specs and size comparisons. Line this up against one of these squares. You have an overall length of 8 3/4 inches, blade length of 3 3/4 inches, blade thickness still pretty thin, 0.12 inches. Handle thickness, that's pretty chunky. It's 0.63 inches, and a weight, according to my scales, of 4.97 ounces, which golf clap to Benchmade, because that is exactly what they claim that it weighs, and that's exactly what it weighed on my scale. Always get the golf clap if they get it right down to the hundredth. And also, it's over a full ounce lighter than the previous aluminum one was. So that's not an insignificant amount. Size comparisons, we're going to do our usuals, and then I'm going to do some extras here, because this is kind of a big one. We have your Spyderco Paramilitary 2 and the Para 3. So yeah, it's pretty large. And then we will do some of its brethren. We have the full-size Griptilian and the full-size bug out. Still so weird saying full-size bug out because there's a mini now. Yeah, even just a little bit bigger than the grip. And then we'll bring out a couple of bigger knives here that I thought would be appropriate appropriate comparisons, we have your Hinder XM18. It's just slightly longer than an XM18. And your Ontario Rat Model 1. Man, that thing thwacks. It always surprises me. I don't know why. Pretty similar in overall length to the Model 1. Just a hair longer, but you're getting a lot more cutting edge. All right, let's start breaking this knife down. Now, it does have, as I said, the exact same S30V blade that the original had, which is not a complaint for me. It's not super thick behind the edge. I think it's about 25 thousandths. It's not bad. And it's pretty thin blade stock, but it's still a good, durable blade. It's got a pretty good tip on it. It's not going to, the pictures aren't going to do it justice because this swedge makes it look thinner than it is, but not too bad. You get plenty of cutting edge. It's a big old blade. It slices well. Came with that same kind of very sharp but working edge that Benchmade's come with. You don't see like mirrory edges on Benchmade's out of the box, so that was unsurprising. Thumb studs stay pretty much out of the way of the cutting path. It's really nothing to complain about. Slices well, pierces well. S30V. I really like the blade on this. Absolutely nothing to complain about blade-wise at all. Not a bit. Ergonomics, also, I'm going to be struggling to find things to complain about. I really like the CF Elite, if I have not mentioned. I like the texture they put on it. I was kind of worried about those nubbies and how that was going to go. But no, it works really well. Locked in pretty good with this little jimping and this slight flare at the tip of at the head of the handle, and it works. You're locked in this thing, man. It ain't going nowhere. It's grippy, but it's not uncomfortable. I found the aluminum one to be slightly uncomfortable sometimes when you're really bearing down. You have little marks on your fingers and stuff, you know, if you're really squeezing on it. Not a bit on this. Pocket clip with a deep carry clip. No hot spot whatsoever. Really nothing to complain about the ergos. I mean, if I was designing this for EDC use, I'd probably knock that jimping down a little bit, but this is a black glass knife. That's not exactly what it's meant for. I think they hit a good medium where the amount of jimping's not going to be horribly objectionable to the EDC people. It's going to be very much appreciated with, you know, tactical people and first responders and stuff. So I think they nailed it as far as that goes. Nailed the ergos on this for its intended purpose. Absolutely nailed it. And I like seeing, can I just say, I like seeing a quote-unquote tactical first responder knife that doesn't have a glass breaker on it. I was so worried when they said they were revising the Presidio II. I could just see the glass breaker coming, and they didn't do it. If you see my comments about like the bailout review, that when they updated that, they put a glass breaker on it, and a whole lot of first responders, you know, I think there was 4 or 5 that replied saying, yeah, they're useless on a knife. You get a dedicated glass breaker. And I kind of agree with that. Not that I've ever really been in that world, but it makes sense to me. I think you're just as likely to cut your hand using your knife, using the butt of your knife as a glass breaker as you are, you know, anything else. So side rant, apologize about that. I don't like glass breakers. I'm very glad this doesn't have one. Even the lanyard hole doesn't get in the way of anything. It's perfectly well placed. Ergonomically, this thing is just awesome. And I bring up the glass breaker because that's another thing. They scratch you. They just do. So, all right, let's get into the carry of this thing now that I've gone off on a side rant for a bit. It carries very well for the size, and I remember I felt the same way about the original one, even though it was kind of heavy. But this one slides in and out of the pocket a lot easier. You've got this nice spot. You can see it on this other side because it is right-hand, left-hand carry, so it's a completely ambidextrous knife, which is nice. It has a little flat spot where the clip rests, so it slides in and out. Easy peasy. It couldn't be better. And there's no flipper tab, so it's not taking up a whole lot of room in the pocket. It's not as much as you'd think. It's a fair bit, but not a lot. Here it is around the edges here. I will say, even though it doesn't have flipper tab, where the handle flares out, I'll point out the exact spot when I pull it out, but you can feel that jimping and that little bit of flare, you know, on your pinky when you go by, but it's not like scratchy. You just kind of notice it. It's definitely not going to like peck and damage anything, but you just notice it on your finger as it goes by. Not at all the end of the world. Yeah, this part right here is what I'm talking about. As your pinky goes by, you know, you can kind of feel it hitting that little part there. Not a big deal. Not super upset about it. As far as the deployment and stuff goes, I mean, it's a big old Benchmade, so it's going to work good. Access locks are so much fun of these because they're just rope. You know, you have that much weight, the weight of that much blade behind it, you know, it just bangs shut. This one's pretty much brand new, so it's not really broken in. And yeah, you can do all the usual stuff with it, no problem. It's really fun. I really do like playing with this. It's a big old bruiser, but it's got a heart of fun with it, you know? And I think that's pretty cool. And I think the whole knife is pretty cool. And $131.75. If you're shopping for a big, hefty knife, I mean, that's not at all a bad price. If you're looking at, you know, ZTs or something like this, I should have brought this out earlier for size comparisons. You're like, you know, the Cold Steel 8010, you know, that's a bargain. I really do like it a lot. Pretty impressed with it. I was really excited about the mini. I didn't care that much about the large one. I kind of thought I'd like the smaller one better. I don't have that yet. When I do, maybe my feelings will change. But initially I'm thinking, I don't know if I care as much about the mini now, because I really like the full-size one, and it's plenty easy to carry. Maybe the mini I'll like even that much more, and that's not out of the realm of possibility, but we'll see when I get it. They had a release date, and now it's kind of to be determined, because unfortunately, you know, Les, the founder of Benchmade, passed away, so some things are kind of to be determined over there right now, but it'll be out shortly, I'm very sure. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and, you know, go check this thing out. It's pretty cool. The Presidio II didn't really take off hugely, but I really think the CF Elite one definitely should. I hope it's not hampered by the previous name and people just don't realize it, because I think it's the cheapest one, but it's better. I like it better than the original one. Definitely, hands down, without a question. I like it better than the original one. I sold my original one, and I may stop this video and message Zach and ask him how much he wants for this one. So I can't give a better summary of my opinion than that. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.